So we got to go to somebody who's got just a ton of energy. If I had just one coach to work with my own child, I want Scott Arneson to be the one who works with him. Arnie has no bottom to his tank. He's been highly successful at every single level of wrestling that there is. He won a state high school title. He was an All-American for me in Greco. He was an All-American at Platteville. He's been a leader every step of the way. Coaching at Merrill, he's had boys win state titles and teams state titles. Incredible effort. But he's so much fun to be around. It's like having a 50-year-old kid. He doesn't slow down. He never sits down. I bet his wife can't sleep with him. He has to go someplace else. I think the thing that Arnie does that's probably the most important is he's developed Greco in the state of Wisconsin for the entire state of Wisconsin. Arnie's Northern Exposure is a workout facility open to anyone. He has wrestlers come in from Tomahawk and Merrill and Wausau and Everest. A lot of those wrestlers are his competition. But if they want to get better, Arnie's there. And if they want to go to the Nationals, Arnie's there. And if things are going wrong in their life and they need a strong support system, Arnie is there. I'm very proud to introduce Scott Arneson.
I was going to try to do a cartwheel, but I'll hold back.
Oh, Keith.
Is that high enough?
Now it is, Arnie.
I was going to say something like that's where my best features are, but I'll leave it be. All right, I did write something today. This is pretty neat for me. First and most importantly, my thanks goes out to the nominating committee and the selection committee for believing I am worthy of this honor. Just having you put my name in for the award is humbling. To actually be selected for this honor is hard to fathom. Thank you. Sorry I gotta hold this, but I'll walk around if you'd like me to. All right, Coach Sweat reminded me that just because I have the mic in my hand doesn't mean I get to talk long. So he gave me some strict advice. Arnie, keep it short and sweet, just like you. Thanks, Sweat, I'll try. I'm super nervous about speaking, mainly because I'm so shy. So when I came up here to calm down, I used some deep breathing techniques that I learned from my college coach, Wally Eisland. And then that didn't work, so I turned to plan B. I used the golden rule for public speaking. I pictured all of you in the nude, and man, from here it's scary and bright. Most of you could use some sun. Then I wasn't sure how to start my presentation. I was hoping I could use the line, "You save the best for last," but I don't know what happens when you're the fourth person that gets to go. You guys did great. So, the only thing I can do is have the longest speech. So lace up your shoes and put on your headgear. This speech is going to go 10 minutes. It's going to be a 10-minute match with an overtime. 13 minutes and 40 seconds is what I got predicted. So what does the guy say when he's being inducted in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame? What can I say to you? The young, the old, the veterans, the classics, and the antiques of wrestling. I'm not sure, but I titled my speech, "Doing It Right." Shortly after I graduated from college, I actually did, they gave me a diploma, I made a commitment that I would give back to the sport of wrestling, the sport that made me who I am today. I truly believe the sport is what got me through high school, college, tough times, and helped me land my first and only teaching job in Merrill. Wrestling did me right. One of my ways to give back was to start a freestyle and Greco-Roman training center called Northern Exposure, which Sweat already mentioned. Thanks, by the way. took my mojo. A freestyle Greco training center, and the main purpose of it was to try to provide an opportunity for kids to get better, because I really believed I needed to do that. So I did, and mainly just to make them better. Yes, some of those attendees would actually come back, sweat, and beat some of my wrestlers the next year. My kids had the same opportunity that all those kids did. So I just kind of lived with it. I'm sure everybody in Merrill wasn't real happy with that, but I'm the one that was leading the charge, so there you go. I didn't stop there. I got involved in the Wisconsin Summer National Wrestling Team. I wrestled for that team back in high school. I believe my summer wrestling contributed greatly to my high school's wrestling success and influenced me to wrestle in college. It's where guys with single names are recognized. Fred, Louie, Richie, Duffy, and Sweat, to name a few. All of them gave their time back to the sport by volunteering and making Wisconsin wrestling better. Now I try to follow in their footsteps and help lead Team Wisconsin and a batch of eager wrestlers yearly in the summer to excel. I've been giving back to the sport for over 27 years. You know you're doing it right when the kids keep showing up, saying thanks, and the volunteer coaches keep coming back year after year. These guys are back over here, some of the guys. Sukes, Lurkey, Cleaves, Doug, Bergs, Deuce. Sweat still seems to be around. You got mentioned 3 times in here so far, Sweat. Nice. Wonder who's getting inducted. Thanks to those guys for doing wrestling right. Keep it up. After 25 years of coaching, I made the decision to retire with energy left over. It was easy to do, and I believed it was the right thing to do. There were some awesome guys waiting and willing to take over the program. I hope I was a good mentor, and I showed them how to do wrestling right. I knew I was leaving wrestling in good hands with the guys that were taking over. So here we go. So what have the last 2 years of not coaching taught me? There's something about this dang sport that keeps pulling me back. It won't let me go, and I can't earn an escape point. I thought I was breaking free and moving on when my son left for college, but when Mike Derone, UW-Platteville's head wrestling coach, sitting back there, he's the guy in a bright orange shirt with hardly any hair, my son's coach, he decided to ask me one weekend, since he was short a coach, if I would help coach. Of course, being the great guy I am, I said sure. I'm not sure if I should thank him or headlock him. Seriously, Mike, thanks. I enjoyed it. Once you've coached wrestling, you can never escape its hold. It locks its hands around you and it doesn't let you go. So what will happen in year 3 of being free from wrestling? I'll let you guess. I'm guessing there will be a mat pretty close by for me. I'll let you decide if wrestling did me right or wrong. So again, what can an old, good-looking, short, balding coach from Merrill possibly say to this level of a wrestling crowd? Well, I decided to leave you with 10 things I believe helped get me up here on this stage, and are the things that helped me stay focused, hungry, and passionate about wrestling for many years. The first 4 I've already mentioned. Once you start coaching the sport, you can never escape. That's number 1. Number 2, always try to give back to the sport yourself and stress your wrestlers to do the same. Leave the program strong and in good hands so the next coach can continue on. Number 4, get out while you still have energy. I still do. When I first started coaching, I was obsessed with my goals, titles, dual meet records, and basically winning. I finally realized I was relying on high school kids to try to reach my personal goals. Wasn't very intelligent. So I changed my tune and my approach. My goals came down to find 5 main focus points. I believe these became my core principles and gave me direction and focus yearly. So this brings me to my number 5 point with 5 parts. I believe my job was to get my wrestlers in good shape because I could control that. The next thing I believe, number 2, is I should show my wrestlers good technique. I worked hard to do this. 3rd, get my wrestlers to the competitions on time. These 2 guys are here also. It's amazing how I worked this into the speech. Thanks Todd and Davey and Wendorf Bussing for making me 100% on arriving early. Listen to this part. even on Arnie time. The fourth one, try to improve one thing at each level of my program per year. So something for the youth, something for the middle school, and something for the high school. I didn't try to do 100 things, I tried to do one at each level. So that was 3 a year. That's doable. The fifth was, if I expect my wrestlers to do more, I needed to do more. That's kind of how I've always lived my life. Northern exposure and summer national team coaching assured this would happen yearly. These 5 principles guided me and helped me yearly to do wrestling right. My points 6 through 10 are the foundations, what I believe are the pillar of the Merrill Wrestling Program. All of the pillars start with the letter K, or the K, excuse me, they start with a K sound, not the letter K. I know I'm in Phi Ed Health, so I do know how to spell, by the way. All right, the 5 Ks of Merrill Wrestling. When I spoke in public and on the radio, as well as to the newspaper, I would always keep these 5 things in the back of my head and always try to mention all of them. Because we, including myself, never say thanks to the key people that you should. So I believe this helped me do Merrill Wrestling right, because it wasn't about Arnie, it was about Merrill Wrestling. The 6th point, the first K sound, is the community. Thank you, Merrill. I was lucky enough to coach in a community that supported wrestling. I lived in the community and I was part of the community. I knew I was doing it right when I'd hear little kids in the grocery store say to their mom or dad, say, "Hey mom, hey dad, there's that coaching wrestling dude guy." I thought that was a good sign. So Merrill is well known for its wrestling, and I think I kept that tradition alive. Keep coaches, be a part of your community, it'll pay off. Number 7, my second K was the club. Your parents are your club. Merrill's parents were awesome. Once their kids got to middle school, they stepped out of the picture and they let us coach. It was awesome. They trusted our coaching staff and the program. That's a good sign you're doing it right. We never charged parents for not doing their work at a tournament. We sometimes ran 7 tournaments a year. Kevin Schmeling, who is here, and Kent Reinhardt, you guys have never told me thanks for the 80 tournaments I helped you run. Or they ran for me. Moving on. There are many people that leave the coaching profession because of parents. I seriously only had one conflict with a parent in my coaching career. I'm not shallow enough to believe that there weren't parents talking about me behind closed doors, but they definitely didn't talk loud enough for me to hear them, which was awesome. In the one situation I mentioned before, a parent was irritated because I decided they drove a half hour to watch their son wrestle, and I chose to wrestle someone else in the attempt to win a dual meet. I kind of thought that was my job as a coach, but I wasn't sure. They weren't. Anyway, well, when I arrived home, I was met by this group of unhappy parents, 2 of them, and I knew I was doing it right when I told them, and I ended the conversation by saying this: "I wish you would have driven a half hour to watch our team wrestle instead of just your son." I thought that was a pretty good answer. So did they. Number 8, the 3rd K is the kids, the wrestlers. Some of these kids stay with you through 12 years of wrestling. You can't help but be a father figure and a role model. I like to use phrases like this with my kids. Draw attention to yourself by the way you wrestle, not because of your tattoos, shoes, and hairdos. If you want to get better in the sport, do one thing more than you did the year before. I really truly believe that. I continuously reminded my wrestlers to get back to the sport after they graduated. I told them, wrestle in college, coach at some level, get back to the sport if you can. If you don't want to coach, officiate. Okay, you can officiate at the state level, the national level, you can even make it to the Olympics in officiating. So I said, try to wrestle, coach, or officiate. And all the kids are looking at me like, yeah, okay. So then I gave them something else to think about. Well, if you can't do any of those 3, then go ahead and get married. Think for a second. Wrestle with your wife. And have a plethora of kids. And let them wrestle. You can always give back, right? Sorry about that. Trying to keep it PG. It's hard for me. You know you're doing it right when your room over Christmas is full of alumni wrestlers. And a bunch of volunteer coaches keep coming back out of your community to try to give back to the sport. Number 9, getting close, hang in there. The 4th K is coaches. I was lucky enough to be surrounded by a great group of coaches. I had positive people surrounding me, and that's one of the things that helps you be successful. They made coaching fun for me. Most of them are here today. You know you're doing it right when you have the same coaches at the beginning of your career as you do at the end. So I want to say a special thank you to Rod, Sukes, Martini, Dom, and Whitesy. Those guys were with me for the long haul. I really appreciate it, guys. This award is as much for you as it is for me. You guys did it right. Number 10, the 5th K and the final K, is kin, family. Family is the most important. My mom almost made it. My mom, Judy, my dad, Dave, my brother Shane, and my sister Kelly are all here and continue to support me and encourage me in everything I do. Come on, man. Wrestling. All right. My Aunt Diane and her husband Greg are also here. I hope you guys feel I did it right as a son, a brother, and a nephew. Next part's the hardest. I hope I did it right as a dad, too. My daughter Brooke is attending college now. Gosh, seriously? Practices like 15 times. Brooke's been my #1 wrestling fan for 21. Come on. Brooke's been my #1 wrestling fan for 21 years. Right. She has chosen a career in helping people. I hope she learned a few things from Dad and Merrill Wrestling. I know wrestling influenced her, and I hope it has done her right. Maybe she'll have kids that wrestle. No, I don't want to be a grandpa. My son Scott T, as I mentioned earlier, wrestles for UW Platteville. I remember asking him, why would you want to wrestle in college? It's stupid, sorry for this word, there's young kids here, it sucks, and you are crazy to wrestle another 4 years. College could be a lot more fun if you didn't. Well, it didn't stop there. Now he thinks he wants to teach and coach like his dad. Yeah. I hope wrestling does him right, and I hope he does wrestling right. I have no doubts. Oh, and by the way, I also told him if he does choose to wrestle, it'll make him a better person. And it'll probably land him his first and only teaching job. Probably worked for me, never mind. Good luck, my son, in your wrestling and teaching and coaching quest. Maybe you can be up here someday, Scooter. Erica probably figures I forgot about her. What do you think, Erica? Because when she read the speech over on the way here, I didn't have her in there. She's like, Dad, what about me? I'll try to finish this up. Erica is a 6th grader who thinks she's a senior. She has been using the phrase lately when things are going rough or she's having trouble figuring things out. Dad, it's a struggle and it's real. I think that's a cool statement. I am blessed that I have been touched and influenced by wrestling. I am continuously running into roadblocks, tough times, and struggles. It is safe to say that through my wrestling, coaching, and parenting, that life is better because of wrestling. Erica, life is a struggle, but man, it is way easier after you've wrestled. There's a shirt out there somewhere that states, there is life after wrestling. Is there? To all of you sitting out there, thanks for being supporters of the greatest and the oldest sport. Fellow inductees, thanks for doing your part and giving back to the sport. You did it right. Nominating and selection committee, thanks for putting the Merrill community, Merrill Wrestling, my coaches, my friends, my family, and me, Arnie, into the National Hall of Fame. I guess I did it right. Thank you.